Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. So, hey, I hope you can see me okay. I got some stuff I got to do. Video on Ed Calderon's channel, Manifesto Radio podcast is dropped. You got to dig down through it into the video thing to be able to find out where it's at. But that's where it's at. So, hey, just briefly, also Camp Gagnon video dropping tomorrow. In fact, I was just talking with Jesus on the phone. They sent me over to the not the prequel, but like the trailer to it, and it looks great. I wanted to close out 2025. Today we're sitting on the 5th. It's 2 days before the anniversary of this channel, which was January 7th of 2025. And this year's goal, what we're going to do over here at Dave Frank LLC, whatever, the 2026 goal is the data analysis of YouTube and cartel networks. Right there, right up at the top, you can see it. And in order to do that, what we have to do are these 10 basic things right here. Identify key individuals, right? Relationship pattern identification. Identify groups and clusters within this. Identify the flow direction of who's talking to who or reporting to who. Bottlenecks and vulnerabilities, the cohesion of these networks, the more for transformation of these networks and individuals over time, the validation of the data or the metrics that we have in there, intervention planning, and the improvement of our data, right? In order to do that, we're going to use MySQL inside of the Gephi construct, or Gephi Lite actually is what we will be utilizing for this goal, which is going to encompass node tables, which are unique individual or unique identifiers of the key individuals, right? And then the edge table, which is a relationship reference that we'll be using over here in the groups and clusters, okay? Metadata attributes, edge definitions, source, target, type. Edge attributes are optional, but we're going to throw those in there. Data types, which for those of you that are techies are going to know, your int, your float, your double, which type of data you're using in the table that you'll later be using in subsequent programs. Referential integrity, performance indexing, Gephi compatibility, and then export readiness. So I know that I'm just doing this super briefly. I have to bounce out of the house real quick. Jesus just emailed me or talked to me, and my wife was on the phone with me before that. But I wanted to throw this out here briefly because I want people, oh, my board almost fell over on me too. I want people to know what we're up to over here on my side of the street. What I'm up to is figuring out that we're being told the truth on YouTube. That was the original intent of this program, this channel, if you will. And in order to do that, we have to identify the different groups that speak to each other on both sides of the law and in multiple countries, and figure out the backgrounds and the origins of each of these people. Julian Dory, for example, was working on Wall Street. Quit his job out of the blue on Wall Street and went and moved in with his parents and started a super successful YouTube channel out of his basement at his parents' home. I would proffer a guess on the other unique characteristics about Julian, but I'm going to leave that out of there. Just going with the basic background story or origin story, if you will, on people like Tommy G and all these other major YouTube podcasters, Katarina Schultz, Vincent Vargas, who happened to be born where I was born, because they become these major influencers. And you know, I was making a video about that one time. I wanted to say something about that. I was eating dinner at Papa Do's in Houston. Great restaurant, man. I love it. In fact, a lot of times I'll go there and eat only sides of alligator. Ha! I was feeding that to my wife and my mother-in-law. That being said, there was a table with two influencers there, and it was a Latino couple. The dude was buffed out, kind of like the Latino version of Chad, you know. And the chick, you know, she was hot, smoking hot. But there has to be more to being an influencer than just having a tight-fitting shirt, navel piercing, and a pair of tight-fitting jeans like Katerina on her most recent thing with picking up passports at the border with members that are attached to the Border Patrol or whatever. You have to substantiate what you're saying with data, with hard facts. In the trailer with Mark that Jesus just sent me over, I was talking about the United States wanting oil, and this was recorded back in December, way before when I say we, I'm talking about Trump in particular, decided to go take out Maduro and arrest him. I already said that it was over the oil because Trump had said that a long time ago. I'm not making anything up. The data is what it is. The facts are what they are, irrespective of perspective or what your ideology is. About that, I want to state right off the bat, I apologize to anybody that feels like I am alienating them purposely or not. I'm not. I know that every person that watches this show, whether they're liberal, libertarian, or conservative, has their own perspective. And I respect your perspective, man. I really do. And I need to say that more than ever because a large portion of the people that will be seeing my videos are conservative. I am one of you. I believe in mom, apple pie, and baseball. And then as far as the liberal people go, in a lot of ways, I am one of you also. I do believe in personal freedom, man. Our God imbued us with free agency to go out and do what we want. And as long as you're not harming somebody else or trying to indoctrinate children on the right or the left and leaving that to their parents to decide, I support whatever you want to do in the terms or the broad realm of or spectrum of what comprises freedom. I want to make that clear. So my channel is for you, no matter where you fit on the political spectrum. My only intent is to present data to you through these constructs or these parameters right here, and to put it in your hands and let you make up your own mind. There are some things going on in Cuba right now. There was a Turkish vessel off the coast of Cuba, and they had generators on board of this vessel, and they were providing Cubans with electricity. There are a lot of places in Cuba right now that only get electricity for 2 hours a day. And now that Maduro has been taken out of the country, they're concerned that Venezuela, which had previously been providing Cuba very cheap gas and petroleum products, that the Cuban regime is in danger of falling itself. And a lot of Cubans obviously support this. It's not to say that everyone in the Latino community or in the Venezuelan community is happy with the removal of Maduro. Some are, some are not. Any more than the American population would agree on Biden or Trump. There are huge, in fact, we were even talking about it right here, groups and clusters, but also cohesion or factions amongst data sets that we have there. Because that exists too. Warlords in Somalia would be a good example of that. They know each other, but there are groups that are particular to each other. The same thing goes on within the Latin community. When I was talking about whether or not it's wise to invade Venezuela, to remove their dictator, or however you want to phrase that, I don't think it was wise. And the reason why is because there are things that have gone on in this country for a long time, ever since 1913, I think it was, when they created the Federal Reserve. They debased the dollar with gold, somewhere around 1970s or something like that. I might be wrong on that. However, the dollar is not backed by gold. And so one of the things that has propped up the American dollar for a long time is the fact to trade oil in American dollars. And as soon as entities like BRICS come into play, which is China, Russia, India, are the primary players in that, come into play and decide that they're going to change petroleum in yuan or other currencies, potentially rubles, that it creates a problem with our economic system over here in the United States as far as what actually backs our currency, which weakens it because now people don't have to purchase American dollars to buy fuel. They can purchase it in other currencies. This is why Venezuela was invaded. This is why Trump is stating flat out that it's our oil and everything. It's only and solely to prevent Venezuela from trading their oil which is the property of every Venezuelan, not Americans, any more than American property, our natural resources, are the property of Cubans, Bolivians, or Venezuelans, or anybody else. And principles are important in this. We have a problem in this country with an inflated economy. When I was in law school, one of the things that I would go over was the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, which, if memory serves me correctly, was either 12 or 13 different countries, of which the politicians in each one of these countries thought it was a good idea to gut the American economic production system, factories and fabrication, what have you, and trade it or outsource it to countries to where in the United States, where many people have purchased homes and have 30-year mortgages that are dependent on roughly a $60,000 a year income in order to buy these houses over the course of 30 years, with house payments that range from $800 to $2,000 a month. They want to outsource it to a bunch of Vietnamese people that only have to generate $600 a month and gut your income and your mortgage and your economic well-being in the process. And then on top of that, they stuck all these documents away in Australia to where people can't even read them or go public with them. But the bottom line is there's a lot of economic, what's a good way to put it, house of cards that the politicians in many of these countries will sit there and dance on, just waiting for it to tumble. And in the tumbling of that house of cards is going to mean your job, your mortgage, your truck payments being repossessed or whatever, your vehicles. And you're seeing that happen throughout the United States. There's so many people in the streets, and a lot of them aren't even drug addicts. A lot of them are people that have lost their jobs. And you've heard it before, many people in this country are one paycheck away from being homeless themselves. This is what I'm referring to. When we sit there and we invade other countries and take their stuff, we galvanize the world community against us. And I don't think that that's a smart move. Horrible. You have to rethink your position and correct course, which I have. And I'm not all that. I'm just throwing this out there for you guys to think, or, to have a look at, because I think that identifying these groups, identifying some of the things that we see on our media every day, I think that it's important to have a look at all the consequences that a single action, the ripple effect, if you will, has when we do something like remove another sovereign country's leader, whether they're a good leader or not. It is important that we are aware of the consequences of actions that have international consequences for our relations. Getting back to the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, these are people, politicians in all of these countries that wanted to bankrupt your house, because the moment your job can be done by someone that is making $600 a month and living in a wicker hut that doesn't have to generate $2,000 a month to make their house payment for the next 30 years, the moment that that person can do your job, these politicians still enrich themselves at your expense. And I might not be saying that in the most eloquent way because I'm just getting this video out before I have to bounce out of the house. But it is important that we start looking at this. There are other consequences to invading invading Venezuela, wherein the Cuban regime is now on the precipice of falling because they don't have access to Venezuelan oil. And this will, in the weeks to come, be propped up as a benefit of having removed Maduro from office in Venezuela. That's true. This will be a good consequence. The Cuban regime tumbling, good in the eyes of Cubans. I wouldn't know. I haven't lived in Cuba, but there are other Cubans that would certainly applaud this happening. Still, that comes with a price tag attached to it, meaning that the United States will be viewed on a world level, on a global level, as thinking that we have the right to invade another country and remove their dictator, their president, their prime minister, or whatever. And if you galvanize enough of the world community against us, sooner or later this economy that's only held afloat by the petroleum being traded in dollars, as soon as we're removed from that because we've been ostracized from the world community, is being viewed as people that have the right to determine what other sovereign nations are going to have to lead them or govern them, we're going to be in a world of hurt. I don't have to be right on every single one of these points, but I think that I have the gist of it down, and that these are things that we should be looking at as a populace, right or left, in this country. I also would disagree wholeheartedly with the invasion of Mexico. There are a lot of things going on to where the Department of Justice itself has been investigating the Border Patrol, where they've had something like 600 arrests. The exact figure escapes me right now, but it's been hundreds of arrests of corrupt Border Patrol people that have allowed the flow of drugs into the United States. There's videos of it on other major YouTube channels that you can see for yourself. There are a lot of things that we could do in this country to stem the flow of drugs. However, the government chooses not to do it, and by the government, I mean right and left. They both act in concert with each other and are two wings of the same bird. And they like to play us against each other, pretending like they're not the same people that have been in power for the last 270 some odd years, whatever it is. I forget how long we've been, 1776, 300 years, okay? No, 250 years. I gotta edit that out. They're the same people that have been in charge this whole time, and every single problem that goes on in this country is their fault because they're the ones that claim to be the experts. So I'm throwing this out there today. I hope you like it. Something to think about. You know, the Republic of Cuba can no longer generate electricity within its own borders, and so this is going to provoke a regime change there too. There's a domino effect behind a lot of this stuff. And Mark Camp Gagnon's video will be dropping tomorrow. I encourage you guys all to check it out. The other video that Ed and I did, don't really like how I look on that video, but it's a good conversation between Ed and I. And going forward, I would like to see Gafe, Ed, and myself have videos with people without their pasamontañas on, and really get to a bottom of, or to a general consensus of what can be done to fix this problem of drug addiction, the drug war, and also international cooperation that benefits the people of each one of our countries. So that's enough out of me for right now. I don't want to get too long-winded. Cheers, man. I got stuff I got to do. Have a great day. Cool. Terrible place, JD.